Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hello, Dylan.
Oh man, I'm all pumped up.
I see you. You're like pumping up the jam over there.
You better believe it.
Got some toast?
Yes, it's a
for that
beautiful,
jam?
beautiful day here in Western North Carolina.
Fall day.
Yes, beautiful fall day. Won't be many more before it's cold.
Our driveway is covered in gorgeous golden yellow leaves.
It's yeller leaves.
I noticed this morning the wind kind of swirling the leaves all around. Our kitties were feeling very frisky out there in the cool breeze.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was feeling frisky too.
You're always feeling frisky, Dylan.
Oh, so how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I feel like I might be getting a little cold or something. I've got the sinusy thing going on, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize if I have a little nasally a tinge to my voice. It's because I'm a little stuffy today.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know.
All you can do is push through it.
I have to say, we checked out the horror movie Antlers last night. I was not disappointed. It was all right.
It was a great modern day creature feature is a category I would put it in. The effects were great. It was a bit of a slow burn, which built some kind of an intensity up.
I would describe the film as chilling.
Yes.
Right? It wasn't just outwardly scary. There were a few good jump scares, but it was a very chilling kind of film.
And I must say, the young man, I don't know his name, who played Lucas, was excellent. He made the movie.
Definitely. Let's give a shout out to some of our new patrons, Dylan. Today's episode is sponsored by Roxanne, Kelly, Justin, and we have Lisa as well.
Kelly, Justin, and Lisa, thank
New
you.
patrons.
Thank you for your support of Mountain Murders.
Let's get into today's case. Now, I have to preface this with saying I was going to take us in the Wayback Machine to a really old-timey murder, but I've not concluded my research with that case yet because I've had a busy week, so we're going to go in a different direction today.
Okay.
But I promise next week we're going to have a really good old-timey vintage murder, Dylan.
Yeah, but I think your stand-in case is a good story, and I think it's going to be great.
Well, this story has been told by other podcasts. It's a fairly recent crime, but you've never heard Mountain Murders tell it, right?
Oh, God.
You know, I like to dig up all the details that others miss.
You never heard me say what the hell during the middle of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Are you ready, Dylan?
Let's go.
Okay. Heather Rochelle Elvis was born on June 24th, 1993 to parents Terry and Debbie. The Elvis family resided in Horry County, South Carolina,
Oh, my God.
home to Myrtle Beach,
Yes.
also known as the Redneck Riviera.
Yes, it changes. It's changed a lot down that way.
It sure has. Well, Heather was the middle child with a brother Chris and a sister Morgan. She was very close with her siblings growing up, and those who knew Heather described her as fiercely independent, candid. She did not mind speaking her opinion, outgoing, rebellious at times, and had a seize the day kind of attitude.
You know, I think I prefer outspoken women with strong opinions.
I was going to say, this seems to be common characteristics of women named Heather. I don't know.
It's true.
I know, you do like a strong, independent woman, Dylan.
No, I'm not even kidding.
You're not intimidated by strong women.
No, I just think I think more women maybe should, everyone's different and that's okay, but shouldn't, if they want to express themselves in that way, they shouldn't be afraid to. Because unfortunately, you know how it goes in this society, a loud woman, quote, is, often bitchy or mislabeled with some dumb stuff, but that just comes from other people's insecurities.
Oh, and this is why I love you. Hashtag feminist. Okay. So Heather was a creative soul who was into art, photography, and makeup. A lot of young women love makeup.
Yeah, it's a big thing nowadays. You can become famous doing makeup, right?
Yeah, you just do the little TikToks, put your makeup on. Yeah. She graduated from St. James School in Murrells Inlet in 2011. Upon graduating, Heather went on a mission trip to Costa Rica. It was an eye-opening experience for the young woman. She spent some time repairing a roof for a lady, and when the woman started crying with happiness, Heather cried too. She was a very compassionate young woman, and she truly felt inspired by helping others. At the Baptist church where her family attended, Heather often worked with kids. Heather loved children. So she just seems like a really warm, kind-hearted young woman.
Yeah, she sounds compassionate. It sounds like she likes to give back and affect people directly with her actions in a positive manner.
Being an independent young person just starting out, Heather chose a career path in cosmetology and began taking classes. To support herself, she began working as a hostess at a Myrtle Beach restaurant called Tilted Kilts. Heather had moved into an apartment at Carolina Forest, which was a complex, with a roommate, Bree, who also worked at the restaurant. My understanding is the Tilted Kilts is like a Hooters type of restaurant, as they're called.
You know, I think those things are a dinosaur nowadays, and I think they're going to go the way of the Yugo.
You think so?
Yeah.
So the Tilted Kilts is like an Irish, Scottish themed sports bar where all the female servers are scantily clad, wearing tiny tartan skirts and crop tops. Make your money, girl. Get it.
Tiny tartan skirts?
Yeah,
Is that what?
Yeah, you know the little tiny tartan skirts. They wear the little plaid skirts.
Okay.
I mean, tartan is like a plaid print, Dylan.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, wow. I thought it was a clever derivative of tart.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I was speaking more to the pattern.
Oh.
Yeah, like the classic Scottish tartan patterns. Okay. Anywho, that's just going to go over your head. I should also mention that Heather was a beautiful young woman who turned heads while working at the kilt. She had long brown hair, big brown eyes, and a smile that flashed perfect teeth. And I'm going to say, Dylan, she had a smoking hot bod.
I feel like I need to see pictures.
On the left side of her abdomen, she had a tribal sea turtle tattoo. I mean, because she was, after all, a beach girl. That showcased in her work uniform.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool.
So, I mean, she's like gorgeous, perfect body, beautiful young woman in the scantily clad work uniform. You know she's getting lots of attention.
I'm sure.
I mention this because being a stunner, she attracted the attention of plenty of dudes while working at the kilt. But Heather had eyes for an older man, 37-year-old Sidney Moorer. Moorer was a self-employed welder who repaired industrial kitchen equipment, holding several contracts with Myrtle Beach restaurants. Soon Heather and Sidney were taking breaks together. He would drop off coffee and bagels, and there was definitely some PDA going on.
So here's a smoking hot, super cool chick who's into, or woman, sorry, who's into older men with dad bods. Is that what you're telling me?
Apparently.
Oh, my God.
Quit getting excited over
No,
that.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
She's not into you.
She sounds like a really good person.
Uh-huh. Well, Heather was active on Twitter. She sent out tweets about being interested in an older man. Friends were not impressed with Sidney. Not only did they think he was just like way too old for Heather, but the most troubling part, Sidney Moore was a married father of 3.
Oh, no.
This affair began in July of 2013. Her roommate, Bree, described the early days of the relationship like, quote, Heather was pretty, he was scruffy with a ponytail, and I was like, are you sure that's what you want to go after?
Well, yeah, see, I was wondering if dude was, handsome as well. So it's, for whatever reason, she's into Sydney and other people don't get it.
He's handsome enough. Now, I've, combed several photos of Sydney. I could see where plenty of men would find him attractive, right? He has a certain appeal, I suppose. Not my type, but I can see where she might have found him good looking.
Okay.
He's not ugly, right?
And then probably the age adds to it as far as her friends are concerned, I'm sure.
Right. And, people have described him as like he had a pretty charming personality, easy to talk to, laid back, that kind of thing. But Heather was just smitten with this guy. She pointed him out to Bree and said, quote, I want to rape him.
Whoa.
So whatever curls your toes, sis.
Hey.
Sidney had delivered Heather some of the classic lies. He was in an open marriage with his wife, Tammy, and she had a boyfriend.
I must say she needs his consent.
Heather was also under the assumption the marriage was on the rocks. Sidney had indicated his plans were to leave his wife. Heather truly thought the couple had a shot at love. In her naive mind, Heather thought she was going to be with Sydney. Her friends, however, saw this as a situation with potential to blow up.
That whole I'm going to leave, I just have to get everything arranged, I love you, I want to be with you, that whole shtick is such an old trope. I mean, it's been done 1,000 times, and it'll be done another 1,000 times. It happens to men and women, I think, and when you're in this affair side piece state. And it's just unfortunate because people let their feelings, of loving someone, caring for someone, wanting to be with them, cloud their judgment often, I think, because it never works out, right? I mean, very seldom.
Yeah, you're right, Dylan. It rarely works out. Well, all of this, and this is just kind of a side note, it's not in my notes, but I recall this from my research, is that Heather kind of became the butt of jokes at work because of this relationship, and fellow employees knew he was a married man. They started kind of teasing her, making fun of her, and some of the girls she worked with even prank called the restaurant, pretending to be Sydney's wife.
Okay, well, you might not agree with what she's doing, but as long as Heather is to adults, it's really none of your business, and you just got to let them work it out for themselves.
A little bit about Sydney Moore. So he had moved to Myrtle Beach when he was 21. This was back in 1997, 4 years after Heather was born.
Oh, my God.
Just to give you a little bit of a age difference here. Initially, he got a job at a Myrtle Beach attraction, Hard Rock Cafe. And that's where he met Tammy Kason. She was 4 years his senior. Those who knew Tammy back in the day described her as a teenage groupie. She was a huge rock music fan who often followed bands around. A relative told WMBF News that Tammy would brag about being with the bands and stuff, alluding to, like, Tammy had bragged and boasted about having sexual encounters with these rock stars.
Oh.
On her Facebook page, Tammy bragged that she had met the lead singer of Warrant, Janie Lane, posing in pictures with him. The pair were married in 1998 at a ceremony at Oceanside Baptist Church. Tammy received a lot of money from lawsuits and settlements over the course of their marriage.
Dang,
seemingly never really having a job, but somehow always had some sort of lawsuit filed against someone or a business.
Well, maybe she's just unlucky, but likely it sounds like that's she's looking for that opportunity.
The couple apparently spent this money in a very boastful fashion, right? And they would use the money for elaborate Disneyland vacations. I have to include, Dylan, this couple, they were obsessed with Disney.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, some people really are into Disney.
I don't make fun of them or anything.
Well, I wasn't saying you were.
I mean, maybe I do.
Well, some of our listeners may be into Disney. And if they are, I think they should live their best life.
Well, they can, right? But I don't know. My grown-ass husband wearing his Mickey Mouse ears and big cheesing at Disney that's kind of weird to me.
Oh, it's kind of cute.
If I saw you like that, I would just be like, no.
I would just have sticker shock the whole time at Disney. I know I couldn't even have fun.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, Dylan couldn't even go to Disney because he's so cheap. He would just be like, oh my gosh, you want me to pay how much for a soda?
$17 hot dog.
This is highway robbery.
That better be the best damn wiener I ever put in my mouth.
When we get back home, you kids, we are not turning that thermostat above 58 for the next 3 years.
Now, when she says I'm cheap, that's not to say that I have all this money saved back. I just blow my money on different stuff.
He's really cheap, but yet he spends money like crazy on weird shit that doesn't matter.
Well, and I tip big. I appreciate servers in restaurants and
That's
such.
True.
You
don't mind to go drop like a lot of money on a good meal.
Nope.
But then you'll be like, good Lord, I ain't paying $40 to go to a concert. That's just too much.
I'll just listen. I'll just pull up in the parking lot for free and listen to them on my Spotify.
That's exactly what he says. Okay, so in late November of 2013, Tammy got a business license for a home company called Magical Vacations by Tammy.
Oh, so she's taking her love for Disney to the next level.
She's going to help other families plan their Disney vacations.
And who else would you want to plan your Disney vacation than another Mouseketeer?
I guess. And she was a member of a lot of these Facebook groups about Disney and would post information on like how to get the best deals on the Disney vacations and like secret tips, for hopping lines and just different things at Disney, right?
Okay.
All about the Disney. Sidney had started his company, a mobile welding service called Palmetto Maintenance, around 2002. The couple eventually had 3 children together. Tammy homeschooled the children, and they lived in a home on what has been described as a family compound. It's land that her father owned. Her sister and her father also lived within feet of Sidney and Tammy's house.
So you got a piece of property, multiple homes on it. Sounds like they're in a kind of a close proximity to each other.
Yeah, the Kason family or whatever. So it's like all of Tammy's relatives. Sidney's family said after his marriage to Tammy, he pretty much stopped visiting and became very distant. Those who knew the couple described the marriage as unbalanced. Tammy was domineering. Sidney was called happy-go-lucky, but Tammy was in control. Others describe Sidney as utterly submissive in the relationship.
Oh.
It was in October of 2013 that Tammy discovered her husband was having an affair. Jealousy consumed Tammy to the point of obsession. She sent a text to Heather asking, "Are you ready to meet the missus?"
Oh my God, that's kind of messed up. That would now. So if you're Sid, I'm sorry,
Heather.
If you're Heather, you are Heather.
I am Heather.
So you're Heather, and you are seeing this married man on the side, and you're smoking hot in your little plaid skirt. So you get
Well,
this.
I would have been when I was 22.
Well, you still are
as well.
to me.
Yeah.
And to everyone. That's why people hit on you all the time. But anyway, back to my story. So you're seeing this married man, and you receive that text. Well, I know how you are, but she might be less witty and mean about it.
Right. I mean, my response would probably be like, "Roll up, bitch. Where are you?"
Hey, are you ready to meet the woman who's been pleasing your husband that you couldn't?
Yeah.
Oh.
You ready for me to headbutt you or something?
Oh,
anyway.
Gosh.
So then she had Sydney. Now, this is Tammy. She had her husband call Heather and end the affair on the telephone while she witnessed the encounter.
In front of her.
She's forcing Sydney to call. Sydney tells Heather, quote, "You're nothing to me, just someone who spread her legs."
Well, that doesn't work. Like, that never works.
Well, maybe Heather's like, "Well, you're nothing to me. You're just somebody who had a hard dick.
Whoa.
Like a dime a dozen, bro."
Damn.
Maybe that's what she should have come back with.
Well, no. But he's only saying that because his wife's standing there.
Well, exactly. I'm sorry, I just had to take a drink of my coffee.
Right. She's not going to, Heather's probably not believing it. She knows the situation. She knows that the cat's out of the bag, and now it's going to get messy.
Well, Heather's really young, and she's devastated by this. She was naive, and she honestly believed Sydney more. I mean, not only was she heartbroken, but feeling betrayed by her lover, and then she had his wife, who's morbidly jealous. Tammy became preoccupied with 20-year-old Heather. She started calling the Tilted Kilt, demanding Heather be fired for, quote, being a whore.
So, see, she's mad at the wrong person.
I know, right?
You got to be mad at Sydney. And poor Heather, she thought he was in this open relationship that's, on its way out and getting ended and resolved. And so she's kind of caught off guard, I guess, now she's got this mad wife after her.
Well, and that's part of the thing, too, is that in some ways, if you look at it, Heather is a victim in this as well.
Oh, definitely.
Because she believed a story that's being fed to her by this adult man.
Now, I'm sure all her friends were telling her this was a bad idea the whole time.
Yes.
Don't do this. You're young. You're cute. You can have any dude. You don't have to go after some married man with kids, blah, blah, blah. It's messy. But, I mean, she wouldn't be the first person to just kind of follow her heart.
Yep.
And be young, a little bit naive, unfortunately, and young, and believe Sydney's bullshit. So Sydney is the heart of the problem in this situation.
Yeah, I'm like, Sydney is the cancer that needs to be cut out of the situation.
Yeah, but instead, now you got Tammy obsessing, like wanting, obsessing with Heather, which that's not the problem. Her husband is the problem.
Exactly.
And this happens so often, and I never understand why it happens like that.
I never understand that either. Tammy called Heather's cell phone up to 60 times a day.
Oh, my God. Damn, block that bitch.
All day, every day. She sent threatening text messages. Tammy was relentless in her attacks. She would call Heather for hours at a time. And when that didn't work, she would call from Sydney's phone.
And that's the thing. You don't want to piss a Tammy off. I can tell you that right now.
Tammy went out of her way to humiliate Heather, taking to social media to call the young woman a psycho, a hoe, and saying that Heather was obsessed. Like, hi, pot, I'm kettle.
And she's the one doing all those strange, crazy-ass behaviors.
It's classic, like, gaslighting type of jealous behavior. I mean, I think anyone who's ever been in a relationship where there's the quote-unquote, like, crazy ex-girlfriend or that kind of thing, oftentimes you will find you're being stalked and harassed, but then that person is claiming they're being stalked and they're the ones actually doing it, but then they try to pretend they're the victim in it all.
Oh, yeah, and I must say, if you have an ex that's a narcissist or has certain types of personality disorders, this is very common for them to obsess and latch on to the new person you're with, and it's not even about you anymore. It's about that new person, and it's very strange behavior.
We've experienced this, Dylan.
We have experienced this, and it's just the whole time it doesn't make sense.
No, and I will just say your ex is a total psycho.
It's very unreasonable.
But she posted things like, quote, Heather gives blowjobs for pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh, hey.
Well, you know what? There are people who give blowjobs for a hell of a lot less, and I enjoy a good pumpkin spice latte, Dylan.
Yeah, well, the only problem I would have with that is that's a seasonal drink. And therefore, is she only giving blowjobs during the fall? Or can I, do I have to make homemade pumpkin spice lattes now? Because we can figure this out.
Well, you're not in that situation because I accept all lattes, okay? Not just the seasonal ones.
You take cash, too.
Yeah, I like large chunks of cash as well. So then Tammy started sending Heather explicit photos and videos of the Moors in sexual situations. Like, who the fuck does this, right?
Yeah, this is very strange behavior.
Like, hey, here's a video of me and my husband getting it on. I mean, this is like desperation.
And why doesn't Sydney say, Tammy, damn it,
grow the fuck up.
Stop. I caused this mess. I'm sorry. Either we'll stay together or we won't. But leave this girl alone. And I don't want to be part of this crazy shit you're doing.
Well, yeah, and at what point is he just going to tell his wife to grow the fuck up? Right?
You're that threatened? Well, I know she's in her feelings because they're just smoking hot.
She's in her feelings, and I'm going to say, if I look like Tammy, I might be really threatened and upset about Heather, too.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
I need to see these pictures.
Yeah. Well, all I'm going to say is Tammy's a big face bitch.
Ooh, she ain't a pie face bitch.
She got a big old pie face, okay?
Oh,
this is what we call a pie face bitch. Anyway, big face bitch.
I have a pie face too, just so everybody knows.
You have like a baby face.
Well, but I have a big old head and I have a big, fat, stupid face on it because it has to be proportionate.
I love your big, fat, stupid face.
That's not I'd be more handsome if everything was just down about 3 sizes.
I think you're cute as a button.
Oh.
I mean, I know it's not nice to like poke fun at people's looks, but
I'm not. Well, no.
I'm a petty bitch, so I do. And I'm just going to say, if I was Tammy, I'd probably feel a little threatened by Heather, too.
So that's why that might explain why she's going so far.
Yeah.
Because it truly is, she's in her feelings.
Tammy could benefit from a good toner on her, like, chicken fat yellow hair. Okay? Like, if she just got a little toner, it might help the situation.
You always want to hand out toner.
I just want to help women who give themselves bad home dye jobs. I'm no cosmetologist, but I know hair, and, please get a toner. Like, nobody likes your brassy highlighter yellow blonde. It's just bad.
You can fix that.
Tammy needed to fix hers.
Okay.
Maybe Heather could have helped her. Heather's going to be a cosmetologist.
So she's deep in her feelings, and this is making her act crazy as hell.
Yeah. Instead of going out and getting the purple shampoo, she's acting crazy. So quickly, Tammy seizes her husband's cell phone, going as far as placing a password protection on it. And she was the only one who knew the code.
Yeah, but just block these phones, man. Heather needs to block Sydney's phone, Tammy, anybody to do. Just get off social media. I've done it before, and your life improves, actually, because it's the same old conversations and stuff and same old hateful people on there. And just ignore it all. Ignore it all.
After discovering the affair, Tammy began accompanying her husband everywhere, even when he was working.
Okay.
Just following him around like a little shadow. Sydney alleged that Tammy handcuffed him to their marital bed at night so he couldn't sneak off while she was asleep.
Yeah, see, Sydney's allowing these behaviors to continue, and I think it's feeding his little ego to a degree, honestly.
Well, it sounds like maybe he was afraid of his wife. And we'll get into more of that in a minute.
Yeah, maybe.
So Tammy also ordered that Sydney get a tattoo across his stomach just above the pubic region. And he did.
Does it say Tammy's?
It says Tammy, Tammy, appeared in Sydney's photos, scrawled across his abdomen in Old English lettering.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta know that belongs to Tammy. In the meantime, Heather's growing more afraid of Tammy's threats. She's accepted the affair is over, but Tammy continues harassing her. Heather's manager, a woman named Jessica Cook, said, quote, Heather was genuinely scared of Tammy. Like watching her back when she's leaving work at night. Always afraid, this bitch gonna come storming in the restaurant.
Always kind of distracted, thinking something's gonna happen.
Yeah. At some point, Sydney accesses his phone and sends Heather a text. This is in early November.
He's like, send help, call the police.
He explains that Tammy wasn't really mad about the affair. They had an open marriage, but she was upset that he had lied about it.
Whatever, dude. You can save your little stories. Nobody's believing that BS now.
Heather asked if he had his phone back now, and then went on to say that she'd actually lost hours at the Tilted Kilt due to Tammy's harassment. Because Tammy had called so frequently and disrupted the workplace, they had sent Heather home on several occasions. Like, you just need to go home. We can't do this right now.
Well, I get that from they're just trying to run a restaurant, and you got to keep your personal stuff outside the workplace, but at the same time, it's kind of not her fault.
Well,
so maybe
if
they
I were
should.
the restaurant,
I'd law her for
that's
harassing.
the thing. If I was the restaurant, I would get a restraining order against this
Yes.
woman so that she couldn't call and harass my workspace, so she couldn't be calling my restaurant, and I would say she couldn't come near me. I mean, if I were the business, the managers, whatever, I would want to protect my employee, and I would also just be like, you need to get on somewhere.
It'd be a principle
to this person, yeah.
Part of it would be protecting Heather or an employee, obviously. Another part would be, you're not going to do this to my workplace. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Get the hell on somewhere.
Yeah. Like,
Trespasser,
we're not calling
restraining order.
Magical Vacations by Tammy and harassing you all day. Like, we're a third party here. So on November 5th, Heather saw Sydney Moore again at work. And on that same day, she tweeted a joke from a comedian, Daniel Tosh, if you remember Tosh.0.
Oh my God, he's funny.
It said, quote, hey fellas, you can either cheat on your wife or murder her. Never both. That's when you get caught.
Okay.
So as soon as Tammy learned of this affair, as I mentioned before, she's acting all irate and whatever. She begins texting a former acquaintance who was a Facebook friend. It's always the Facebook friend, right? A guy named Kevin Hummel. Tammy expressed interest in Kevin sexually, telling him that she was looking for someone to hook up with, no strings attached, just a sexual relationship. So the pair begins texting, which eventually leads to multiple phone sex conversations.
Oh.
Kevin was single at the time and later stated, hey, I was all for it. I'm a single guy. She's just trying to have sex. Sure.
So are they really have an open relationship, or is she like does this seem like to you like to get back at Sydney kind of thing?
This seems to me like to get back at Sydney, and perhaps maybe they did have an open relationship, but I feel like it might have been one of those where like maybe Tammy got to do what Tammy wanted, and then when Sydney did the same thing, like that didn't work out.
Or he just did it with too hot of a woman. Gosh, I gotta stop saying. Does chick offend people?
It doesn't offend me, but I can see where it would offend people.
Okay, we're just gonna take chick out of there.
Is dude offensive?
No, dude's
because I just be calling you dudes.
Dude's unisex in my book. I say dude to chick. Or
you
guy.
Say dudes to chicks all the time?
I'm sorry.
It's you know what, Dylan? You have that middle-aged man
That's right.
notion, right? You grew up in the 90s when saying chicks wasn't super offensive.
Things were different.
Yeah.
People were happy to be a chick back then.
We forgive you.
Right?
Okay?
Okay.
We're not going to cancel you just yet.
I'm just going to say ladies. Don't Chappelle me, you son bitch.
The Moore family purchased a brand new Ford F-150 in November in anticipation of a 3-week-long Disney vacation they were planning. Hoping to reconcile their marriage, the 5 Moorers departed South Carolina on November 19th, heading across country to Anaheim, California.
Oh, so they're going on to the other Disney.
They're going to California Disney, to Disneyland, not Disney World. No.
And I bet Tammy planned the whole damn trip.
Oh, she had the itinerary popping. Probably down to where they were like eating every meal and shit. So the family would go on this vacation on November 19th, and they didn't return until December 11th. Almost 3 weeks.
Wow.
Sizable vacation, right?
Drive across the country.
Trip with your 3 kids. I'm sorry, but that just sounds terrible. I've seen National Lampoon's Vacation, and I don't want to drive with you across country with our kids.
Well, what are you going to do? That's not to say to all kids. It's probably fun.
I'm not going to Wally World.
It's probably fun in a way.
No, it's not. I can only imagine listening to our kids complain for like 3,000 miles.
Not these kids nowadays. You
No,
can't take
thank
them
you.
damn 30 miles to somewhere. They're like, oh my God. And they're just dragging you down. You ever try to have a good time and you're like dragging this freaking stick in the mud along with you?
Your kids?
Well,
all
yeah.
the time.
Kids, period.
Okay.
Look,
So-
look, if you're listening to this in your car right now, look over at those little son of a bitches. Look at them.
Unless you're Jenny and you've got Jax because he's like the cutest kid ever.
Jax rocks.
I'm totally like in love with Jenny and Kyle's son.
Some of y'all's kids rock, I bet. But I bet some of them you're hearing this in your earbuds right now, and they're walking around the house in front, back and
All
forth.
sullen.
Yeah,
looking like
and-
little surly mermaids.
And you're just like, Dylan and Heather are right. Look at that little son bitch over there.
Eating all the chips.
Ah, your chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how they be like, well, you see my stuff?
Standing with her hand out, wanting $20, and you're like, I just gave you $20.
Hopefully, we can do a whole podcast on that. Let's move on.
Little parasites. Okay, anyway. I mean, we love our kids, but
God damn you kids.
damn, I can't wait till they're 18. Okay, so while they're gone to California. See, you got me all befuddled here, Dylan.
Yes, derailed.
Talking shit about my kids. So while they're gone to California, Heather orders new uniforms at work, appearing to have gained some weight. She also had gone up 3 bra sizes.
Oh.
Because these crop tops that they wear are like kind of specialty. They tie in the front. They look like a little blouse, but they're cropped. Basically just cover the sweater puppies. Yeah. So she's gone up 3 bra sizes and has to order this new top.
Hold on a second. You're not going to say what I think you're going to say.
What?
That she's in a womanly way.
What's a womanly way, Dylan?
Is she pregnant?
You saying the rabbit done died? We're going to get to that.
Oh my
So
God.
this will spark rumors later that Heather was potentially pregnant. A manager at the Tilted Kilt will later tell investigators that Heather had taken a pregnancy test in November, but it had shown an error message, so she wasn't sure.
Man, these managers know everybody's business at this place.
Have you never worked in a restaurant?
Is that how it goes?
You know everybody's business when you work in a restaurant.
For real?
It's in food service industry. Yeah. You know all the details about everybody.
You know who's got the crazy baby daddy or baby mama. You know who's on probation. You know who lives with their parents and they fight all the time. You know all the stuff.
Yeah, like when I was in college, I worked at this one place, and we had a cook who literally smoked crack behind the restaurant all the time, and then he would come in and have his shift.
Well,
And-
hey, as long as he's cooking good food,
Well,
I
that's
don't have
the
a problem
thing.
with that.
People would tell like the owner, and the owner would just be like, "Well, as long as he shows up and does his job, I don't care that he's smoking crack out back." And we were all like, "What?" Yeah, it was crazy. So by December the 17th, Heather was moving on from the relationship with Sydney. She had started a new job at a salon in Myrtle Beach. She was resolved to start attending church regularly again with her roommate Bree. She was trying to turn over a new leaf.
Okay.
She had a date with a young man named Stephen Schiraldi on the 17th. Around 10 p.m., the pair drove around looking at residential Christmas lights. The date was going pretty well for Heather. She even sent a picture to her dad. She was behind the wheel of Stephen's car at the Inlet Square Mall, where he was teaching the young woman how to drive a stick shift.
Oh.
So Heather's father had tried teaching her unsuccessfully. So she was like sending him this pic, kind of like, "Hey, look at me, Dad. You may not be patient, but this guy is," or kind of joking around about it.
Okay, that makes sense.
The photo shows Heather smiling. She even sent a copy to her roommate Bree. By 1:15 a.m., the date concluded with Stephen dropping Heather off at her apartment. Heather's roommate Bree was out of town visiting family ahead of the Christmas holiday. Around 1:35 a.m., Heather received a call from a payphone, which lasted about 5 minutes. Heather then called Bree to discuss her previous date, and the two spoke for a few minutes. Heather also explained that Sidney Moorer had just called from a payphone, stating that he was leaving his wife and wanted to meet up.
No.
Heather was hysterical during the conversation about Sidney. Bree begged her, "Please don't go meet with him. Instead, go to sleep, get some rest. You can think on a clear head later. It's too late. It's not the time to go out meeting this guy in the middle of the night."
Good advice from her friend.
Heather made some other phone calls, sent some texts. Heather's phone record shows she tried calling that payphone again 9 times. Around 6 a.m., Heather's cell phone activity seemed to drop off, but we'll get more into that here in a bit. After about 4 a.m. on the 18th, the morning of the 18th, a police officer was patrolling an area known as Peachtree Boat Landing when he spotted a green Dodge Intrepid. He noted the car parked there. Peachtree Boat Landing is located in Socasey. I'm not great with pronouncing these words. These words.
I'm
sometimes.
not good with letters and stuff.
That's true. It's in a South Carolina town where the Moorers reside. It's a small rural boat landing set on a bend in the Waccamaw River. It's a really popular launch for kayaks and for fishing. Otherwise, there's not much reason to be there, especially in the early morning hours of December. We're talking water and lots of woods.
Yeah, so there's really,
Remote.
You get a few winter fishermen, but there's not a whole lot going on during that time of year, I could imagine.
So on December 19th, some hours later, this is like running up into the evening hours, that same officer, again patrolling, sees the car still parked in the lot. He ran the tag number, discovering it's registered to a man, Terry Elvis. Terry is contacted about the Dodge. So Terry's sitting at home watching TV when law enforcement show up asking about the car. Terry tells them the car is being used by his daughter Heather, and they head to the boat landing. At first, Terry thought maybe the car was stolen because it was parked, strangely, Dylan, it was like parked perpendicular to the spaces.
It's like across the spaces?
Across the spaces. It didn't occur to him something was wrong until they started looking through the vehicle. Inside the car, he finds Heather's ID, but no cell phone or any sign of Heather. Her purse is missing. Terry then tries calling his daughter multiple times, but each time the call goes straight to voicemail. Without being able to locate Heather, that's when he files a missing persons report. Her employers are contacted, but admit, Heather's been off for a couple of days. She's not due in until the next day. One of the managers tells law enforcement, "You need to go find Sidney Moorer."
So at first, they just contacted Terry about the car, asking some questions. Is this your car? Blah, blah, blah. And then they sounds like law enforcement leaves, goes on about their business, and Terry himself goes down there to where the car's parked. Is that right?
Well, he goes back with law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
Because at first they're thinking it could be stolen, but law enforcement's like, it doesn't seem like the tires aren't slashed, the windows aren't busted out, the stereo's not, all the classic signs of like a stolen car.
Right.
Nothing seems to be amiss in the car.
No damage.
Right.
Okay.
So that's when he starts to realize, wait a minute, something's not right here. Starts calling his daughter. Why would my daughter leave her car here? All those questions start flooding in Dad's mind, Schiraldi, who was the last person to see Heather alive, her date, was investigated but soon cleared. He had an alibi, and his mother told investigators that he'd returned home in the 1 o'clock hour after dropping Heather off, which fit the time frame, and had gone straight to bed. So he was immediately cleared. Now, the day after the car was found, law enforcement did a search around the boat landing, but they found no sign of Heather. Later searches of the riverbed down Winya Bay was done by a team of rescue divers, but also proved fruitless. The best information came in when law enforcement was able to obtain records from Heather's cell phone provider, T-Mobile. Excuse me. Which it pretty much helped paint a picture of what might have happened to the young woman when they get the cell phone records. You know, it's really amazing, Dylan. In a lot of these cases, especially the more modern cases, we see how cell phone records, the different towers, the locations where they're able to GPS and pinpoint and towers pinging are able to locate and kind of tell the story.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's that's used. I mean, that's a go-to nowadays. You know, to track their phone, see where they were or were not, and I think it's very interesting. That's why people were like so concerned about vaccines and tracking devices. You're already carrying one, bud.
You got a tracking device.
You got
on
your cell
person
phone
pretty much 24/7.
And if you're going to do anything bad and you don't want people to know about it, you got to leave your cell phone somewhere. And not only that, you got to have somebody doing fake activity on said phone to make it look like you're there with your phone.
Wow, look at you giving people criminal
Well,
advice.
I'm just saying.
What, is that a criminal pro tip?
No. But, you know, if you've ever thought about it when you're eating gummies, like what would I do if I actually had to kill someone and get rid of their body?
This is one of those intrusive thoughts that you've been having.
Is it intrusive? Maybe it's welcomed.
Law enforcement, who by now had learned of this affair between Sydney and Heather and all of the related harassment that had been going on by his wife Tammy, discovered hundreds of texts that were sent between Heather and Sydney due to these phone records. Those were all sent between July and October, like hundreds into thousands of texts where they were, you know, communicating with each other.
Yeah, and I'm sure it paints out the harassment from his, you know, Tammy, Sydney's wife. So I'm sure this is very interesting to law enforcement.
Exactly. So by November, many of the messages had started to taper off almost completely. And in December, only 6 messages were sent from Heather to Sydney, from Heather's phone to him. On the morning of Heather's disappearance, a call came in from Seaboard Street payphone. Heather's cell phone afterwards then traveled to a bar called Longbeard's Bar and Grill around 2:56 a.m. Her phone pinged on Augusta Plantation Drive shortly after, then back at Longbeard's between 3:02 and 3:15 a.m. Between 3:16 to 3:19 a.m., Heather's phone pinged back at her White River Drive apartment where she tried to call Sydney's cell phone. There was a 4-minute call. At the time, Sydney's phone pinged at his residence, so he'd been home when this 4-minute call came in from Heather. Around 3:25 a.m., Heather's phone was again picked up traveling toward the Peachtree boat landing and pinged at the boat ramp around 3:37 a.m. The phone was active at the ramp until about 3:42 a.m., but was never recovered after that. So the location could only be identified at that time as the Waccamaw National Wildlife Refuge. Tammy and Sydney's phone records were later examined. There had been no communication between their phones, between Sydney and Tammy, from November 2nd. And that's kind of when people said he allegedly surrendered his phone to his wife completely. Because at first she put the password on it, and then she just demanded he hand it over.
Right.
Because remember, she started going with him everywhere.
Yeah. Everywhere you turned around, there's Tammy.
Yeah.
Hey, Tammy.
So
thanks.
she basically was like, you don't need your phone because I'm with you kind of thing. And then on December 18th, the morning in which they believe Heather went missing, around 4:37 a.m., was the first time Tammy had texted her husband in well over a month. And she was asking for, quote, pot stickers and orange juice. And he replied, yes, ma'am.
Pot stickers?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like an Asian food.
Oh.
It's sort of like maybe like a dumpling.
Oh.
That's how I might describe it.
I want some of those now.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Police found further evidence linking Sydney Moore to Heather's disappearance. A surveillance camera from a Myrtle Beach Walmart showed Sydney at 1:12 a.m. that morning entering the store. He purchased a pregnancy test and some cigars. After 7 minutes, he left. More video from a Kangaroo gas station showed Sydney Moore using a payphone around 1:35 a.m., and that's when he was known to call Heather from the payphone on Seaboard Street.
Oh, my God. Heather's pregnant.
Learning the Moores had security cameras around their property, police discovered on December 18th the couple had torn down the security cameras and installed new ones the following day on December 19th.
Ooh, very interesting.
So some hours that were unaccounted for at the Moore property.
So they're just playing it off. We're putting up new cameras.
Yep.
Okay.
Later footage would be reviewed from December 19th with the new cameras, showing Sydney and Tammy cleaning their new Ford F-150 vigorously in the driveway.
Oh, wow.
On the footage, the couple can be seen throwing cleaning rags into a burn pile.
Oh, yeah, this is totally normal behavior. I always burn everything after I clean my car.
Of your brand new vehicle that
Yeah.
you've had for like a month?
Yes.
Makes total sense, right?
It's true. You know, I can imagine they're out there cleaning like when you have a neighbor that's on meth and they're out there like cleaning their car, you know, like way overboard and way too vigorously.
Oh, you mean like when we were in Knoxville and we were staying at the Aloft Hotel and there was a guy in the parking lot? We were like chilling by the pool, like 10 o'clock at night?
Hell yeah, it was 10 going on 11.
Like they had some fire pits out there, right? And we were like having a beer and a cider and just like chilling. And there was a dude out there cleaning his vehicle intensely. And we were like, that dude's got to be on drugs.
He was detailing the car out in the parking lot.
His behavior was not normal.
And it was not an exceptionally nice car. It was like a Cavalier or some shit.
Okay, so on the Moore scent, investigators began reviewing private security footage from various cameras along the 3-mile route between their home and this boat landing. 2 separate cameras showed a dark-colored F-150 passing in the direction of the landing around 3:36 a.m. and about 10 minutes later heading in the opposite direction. Though the license plate is not visible, the footage was turned over to the South Carolina Highway Patrol's Accident Investigation Unit, along with the FBI, who determined it was the truck belonging to Sydney Moore.
There you go.
On December 21st, Q, which helps with a lot of search efforts with missing people, they joined the effort to find Heather. A $1,000 reward is offered for any information in her disappearance. Heather's family creates a Facebook page called Find Heather Elvis, which quickly garnered about 47,000 likes. People were invested in finding this young woman. And as we know, Myrtle Beach is a very popular tourist town, so of course the community didn't want people like afraid to visit.
Right.
Right? And, of course, there's some other famous missing persons cases out of Myrtle Beach, like the Brittany Drexel case. We actually covered that on a Patreon episode. So, yeah, people were just like, we can't let this happen again. Like, we've got to find this young woman. So, the following day, First Baptist Church of Myrtle Beach held a candlelight prayer vigil for Heather. Within days, the reward had increased to $10,000. Christmas comes and goes, and the Elvis family is forced to spend the holiday without their loved one.
And that must be the saddest holiday ever when you're looking for a loved one they're missing and you have that first holiday or set of holidays. I mean, there's no joy in that, I'm sure.
Got to be rough. Days after Christmas, an organized search of the Waccamaw Wildlife Area near Tidewater Road turns up human remains. However, the bones appeared to have been in the area for some years. They are scattered across about 100 yards of a wooded area, likely by animals. They're later determined to belong to a male. More bones are found near Ronald McNair Boulevard on New Year's Day, but they're believed to belong to that same male who had been discovered days before.
Really?
Like these bones are just sort of scattered like all along this wooded area. By New Year's Eve, the reward had increased to $20,000, with donations flooding in from the community, area businesses. Terry Elvis makes a public plea on Facebook regarding his daughter, and it's so pitiful. Like, reading it will bring tears to your eyes. This father, distraught, begging for any information regarding his daughter's whereabouts. This is heartbreaking.
So sad.
When Sydney is questioned by police, he denies having had any contact with Heather, says he never made any kind of phone call from this payphone, has had nothing to do with her.
So he's claiming since the contact fell off, as far as their messages and all that, he's not had any contact at all with her.
None.
Okay.
On January 28th of 2014, a break came in the case, almost, when two men, Christopher Barrett and Garrett Starnes, had posted some various things on social media. So the case and the investigation kind of took a different turn. But then they are later arrested and charged with obstruction of justice because the men had posted misleading information that had diverted investigators from the case.
Wow.
And I'm not going to go too much into what they had posted, but, it's just a couple of knucklehead guys being dumbasses.
Wow, what pissed off investigators, it affected the investigation enough they actually brought charges against them.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
In February, while law enforcement was still investigating Heather's disappearance, Sidney Moorer told police someone had fired a gun at him while he was traveling with his wife and kids. A Georgetown County deputy found no verifiable signs that his truck had been struck by bullets, though Sidney claimed he had heard them hit his truck. He reported a similar instance a second time that month. He told law enforcement that he had been followed and threatened by two men with guns. The Moores claimed the family's pets had been killed and mutilated.
So they're saying because people suspect they had something to do with Heather's being missing or her murder possibly, they're getting harassed and threatened.
In the meantime, Tammy is still on social media.
And she can't even plan a staycation at Disney. Or wait, is a staycation where you stay at home?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, she can't even...
Maybe they're having a staycation where they're just like watching Disney movies.
Oh.
And eating popcorn.
That's so cool.
And pretending the living room is a magical kingdom. Tammy's probably floating around in like an Elsa costume.
Nice.
Right? I don't know. Well, so that bitch is still on social media. And she's calling Heather a psycho and saying, look at her Twitter.
So she's on social media talking shit about a missing
person.
Oh, okay.
Like, look at her Twitter. She's a total psycho. It's no wonder something happened to her.
Classy.
Yeah. And she's making accusations that Terry Elvis had something to do with his daughter's disappearance, alleging that Terry Elvis had molested Heather.
Oh, my God.
She claimed Heather, a missing woman, was a psycho whore and said that Terry had been threatening to kill the Moore family, including the kids.
We don't know that. I don't think Terry said that. Do you?
No.
Terry might have said that.
Well, shit, I don't know. If I thought somebody had done something to my kid, I'd probably say it to him too.
Well, I'm not saying, but I know Tammy's crazy as a shithouse rat, so I don't believe anything she says.
On February 21st, law enforcement had enough evidence to execute a search warrant at the Moorer residence. After an 11-hour search of the property, Sidney and Tammy are arrested.
Wow.
They were charged with murder, kidnapping, obstruction of justice, and 2 counts each for indecent exposure. Images were found on their cell phones during the investigation, which depicted the Moorers in these sexually explicit poses and or engaging in sexual activity in public settings.
Oh, wow. So they're just laying everything they can on them.
They're classy.
Okay.
Again.
So it's like in front of the hot spot?
Yeah, I guess. And so, okay, we have to talk about this. So I'm not like kink shaming people. If exhibition is your thing, cool, good for you. Have sex in public, right?
Well,
but it just seems to me that these are 2 people who are just so gross. They're just grody. And like in some effort to try to win back her husband, Tammy's all like, let's go do it at the Walmart parking lot, honey. Like in some desperate plea or like attempt to like lure him back in with her sexiness or something. I don't know. Well, I'm just like repulsed by these people.
Well, yeah, I'm not kink shaming either, but that one just quickly gets. If my kids are my little ones are around, and if I catch, I'll be like, oh God, what are you guys doing? I'm not gonna lose my mind. But some people, feel differently. They'd be really offended. So I think you quickly get in trouble with public.
Well, when you get to
exhibitionism,
you expect if you're going to bust some people like screwing in a parking lot somewhere, right? It's probably going to be like some kids that don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Not people who share a home
but
together.
Not like 30, late 30s, early 40-year-old married couple for 20 years. It's like, can't you find some other way to spice up your love life? They're just gross. Like, why can't he dress in like a Batman costume and you can be the Joker tied to a railroad track or something, and then you go
Ooh.
rent a motel room or something. I don't know.
Whoa, why do I feel like you put some thought into this?
Maybe I have. So early in the investigation, Sidney had lied to officers that he'd never used a payphone or placed a call to Heather Elvis, right? The footage showing otherwise was used to obtain this obstruction charge. And after the arrest, law enforcement held a press conference, but they didn't detail any evidence they had to support a murder and kidnapping charge. Sidney then said his conversation was only to tell Heather to leave him alone.
Oh.
Yeah. A month after the arrest, a judge imposed a gag order on all the case participants. During the investigation into Heather's disappearance, the Moores are under a microscope, right? It is then, in June of 2014, the state of South Carolina finds financial discrepancies and charges are filed against Sidney and Tammy for Medicaid fraud.
Nice.
The Moores had failed to disclose at least $10,000 in income from their businesses, but had received benefits for their children.
So they were lying.
Yeah, so not only are they weirdly having sex in public places and harassing young people, but they are defrauding the government for benefits.
Yeah, so you're taking a 3-week trip across the country to go to Disneyland, but you got all your kids on Medicaid.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people out there that really need those benefits, and that's the only ones that should have them.
Well, these are people who are clearly abusing social programs. So, in the meantime, Tammy's social media campaign against Heather started to gain some traction. Her allegations that Heather had stalked the family, as well as these threats that are being made to them, start to circulate. She suggested that police were framing her family and protecting the real killers. One local newspaper picked up Tammy's gossip. Heather's family ended up borrowing that newspaper from a press conference that they had about online harassment they had received. Heather's family felt overwhelmed and like they just didn't really have any way to squash this rumor mill and to shut Tammy down. I mean, here's Tammy, who has victimized their daughter, terrorized this poor young woman for weeks, threatening her, harassing her, and then here's Tammy on social media playing victim and getting like attention for that.
Well, as hard as it is, all you can do with that is just ignore it and do the positive things you're trying to use social media for. Keep the story alive, keep, tips coming in maybe. But yeah, it's really hard to stop that when people are so inclined to use social media for bad.
So here the Elvises are. I mean, they are using social media to try to seek information about Heather's whereabouts, but they're being targeted by Tammy's supporters and essentially being victimized all over again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's disgusting. By early 2015, Tammy and Sidney were released on a $100,000 bond. Her mother had put up a house as collateral in order to get the couple out of jail. Prosecutors still didn't have any direct evidence linking the couple to Heather's disappearance. Due to the Elvis family's harassment, the Moores were required to wear GPS ankle monitors and told they had to stay 5 miles away from the Elvis family and avoid any interactions with them on social media.
Well, they should just leave them the hell alone.
Due to the threats and harassment against Sidney and Tammy, by September, a judge agreed that the couple could go to Florida, where Sidney had found a job. They were required to meet the bail conditions and agreed to be extradited back to Florida if they violated those conditions. By now, the case had garnered national attention. I mean, not only had this Facebook page exploded, but the Elvis family was interviewed by Nancy Grace. Dateline picks up Heather's story and airs an entire episode about Heather Elvis. But prosecutors still didn't have a smoking gun. So by March of 2016, the murder charges are dropped without prejudice, meaning they can always be reinstated if more evidence appears. Now, the Elvis family is obviously disappointed, but they understand. And they have to endure 3 painful trials.
Oh, damn.
So let's talk a bit about the trials here, Dylan. Sidney Moore is tried on June 20. in June of 2016 in relation to the kidnapping charges. So over 4 days, the prosecution laid out its case, including testimony from Heather's coworkers. Phone records were used in an effort to connect Sydney to Heather on the morning of her disappearance. The defense argued it was all circumstantial evidence, bringing up Heather's relationship with an abusive ex-boyfriend and strain she had with her own family. So the jury couldn't make a decision. The judge declared a mistrial. Sydney spoke to reporters soon after, which violated that gag order, and the judge gave him 5 months in jail.
Damn.
A new trial was set for December of 2018, and they were granted a change of venue, and the trial was moved to neighboring Georgetown County in South Carolina. In the Dateline episode, Tammy's cousin claimed to have seen a photo of Heather deceased with blood on her shirt and scratches on her face. Allegedly, Tammy had shown this photo at a family cookout, and this relative was so disturbed by it, they left the cookout early.
Oh, yeah. Nothing kills a good time like the picture of a potential murder victim.
In Tammy's trial, which took place in July of 2017, and this was to determine those obstruction charges, that same cousin was kind of deemed an unreliable witness, but went ahead and testified about the photo. The case mostly focused on the cell phone records. During Sydney's obstruction trial, he was found guilty and he was given 10 years in prison.
For obstruction?
Yes.
Wow.
In April of 2018, a grand jury indicted both Tammy and Sydney on conspiracy to kidnap. So 5 years after Heather's disappearance, Tammy went on trial for this conspiracy to kidnap in October. Evidence used in Sydney's trial was used, basically the same evidence, all of that, the phone records. The prosecution introduced Tammy's threatening messages and social media posts to show that she was driven into this jealous rage. The prosecution suggested the idea that Heather might be pregnant, and that led Tammy to have a motive to possibly kidnap and kill the young woman. Sydney's mother testified when Tammy had learned of the affair, Tammy physically assaulted Sydney, beating him severely. So again, we were talking about why Sydney's putting up with this crap. I mean, maybe he's afraid of her because she just beat the shit out of him.
Well, it sounds like that Tammy's a little bit unhinged and not afraid to show it.
Tammy took the stand saying she had a nice conversation with Heather about a month before the woman disappeared, in which the two had resolved any hard feelings.
Who's going to believe that when you're online trashing her after she's already missing?
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, come on.
Introduced into evidence was a hotel key and a receipt where Sydney had rented a room in his name for an alleged dalliance with Heather. And this was after Tammy had stated their relationship was nothing and was never physical. So they were trying to show that, this woman is not telling the truth.
Right.
Ashley Kason, Tammy's sister, testified that she had been babysitting the 3 Moorer children on the morning of Heather's disappearance. Tammy texted at 3:10 on December 18th saying that she and Sydney were home, and Ashley Kason sent the children back over to the house. Because remember, they all live right next door to each other. She said this was not unusual as the children were homeschooled and often stayed up late. Tammy claimed that on the 18th, she and Sydney had gone out to have sex in his truck
At the Walmart parking lot.
then by a pregnancy test because they were trying to have another baby.
Oh.
She claimed that she was pregnant but had miscarried in jail. After returning to the house at 3:10 a.m., Tammy didn't go to bed because she had some work to do after this long vacation. Lots of laundry, cleanup, that kind of thing. She admitted that Sydney took a call from Heather, and that's when he told her, "You need to leave me alone," and he remained at home after this phone call.
Okay.
Tammy was found guilty on 2 counts of obstruction, and she was given 30 years for each, for obstruction and the conspiracy to kidnap. So,
Yeah.
So
Well,
she basically got 60 years in prison.
damn.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting. It's almost like investigators can't pull off the murder charges they want to do, but everything else they've charged them with, they're giving them the max on it. So it's almost like, if I can't get you on this, we're going to give you the maximum on these other charges we can prove in court.
Yep.
Wow.
In 2019, Sidney was tried on the kidnapping charge. He was found guilty and sentenced to 30 years in prison. So currently, Tammy is serving her sentence at the Leith Correctional Institute, while Sidney is at the Lee Correctional Facility. At the time of Tammy's trial, she admitted the pair were separated. Tammy was upset that Sidney didn't take the stand at his trial. And a lot of people felt that Tammy's brazen behavior seemed to indicate she thought she was smarter than everyone and was likely the catalyst behind Heather's disappearance. Heather's remains have never been uncovered. And so we're getting into, like some years later now, like 8 years. Her sister Morgan did go on to compete in the Miss South Carolina pageant. And the family is hopeful that one day they'll have answers about what happened to Heather.
Wow. What a story.
And this story still captivates people all over the world.
I'm sure.
Like, everyone wants to know, like, what happened to Heather.
I'm
surprised that through all of this, like, Sidney nor Tammy, like, ever turned on each other.
No, they didn't. But it's interesting. They ended up in jail. Shit, they ended up in jail with more years than murderers get a lot of times, honestly. The kidnapping's a big deal. You can get 20, 30 years easily if you get convicted of kidnapping, and it should be. But I think they definitely did something to Heather.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you agree completely?
Yeah, I think they're totally responsible for Heather's disappearance.
Right. So,
and even though the prosecution's like, hey, we don't have a smoking gun, we only have the circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is still evidence, right? It still points to these people in these locations at these times.
Well, I mean, it seems to me like you could. I mean, I guess maybe they view it like they have this substantial time to overcome. They're inmates. They're going to be there for decades. And maybe, we don't need to do. But I think you should do it for the family. And I think you could bring the circumstantial murder case, especially after all these other charges have landed on them, which is going to be in the back of people's minds, the kidnapping, the obstruction, all that. And I think you could get a murder conviction.
Well, look, they're cleaning out their brand new vehicle. Conveniently, security cameras go down for the few hours. Coincidental that it's the same time frame that Heather goes missing?
The whole thing's a shit show.
They're burning the rags in a burn pile? I mean, come on.
The roommate knows that Heather received, after her date with the nice guy, had a great date, she received a phone call from him late at night. She should have never went. She should have listened to her roommate. And maybe there's some things we don't know. Maybe there was a pregnant, it's all speculation. Maybe she was pregnant. Maybe she felt like she had to talk to Sidney for some reason. Maybe she still loved him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people speculate, and we don't know for sure, but a lot of folks speculate that perhaps she was pregnant or felt she was pregnant, that maybe she had communicated that to Sidney at some point, or that Sidney and Tammy had found out that Heather could potentially be pregnant. He bought this pregnancy test. The plan was to maybe meet up with her. Hey, we need to take this together. And then once he met up with her, that's when they attacked Heather, killed her, and then went on to dispose of her.
And he was buying the pregnancy test like 1 o'clock or middle of the morning, right?
Yeah, like just an hour or two before Heather vanished completely.
Right. And so Tammy's claiming she's the one trying to get pregnant. But, I mean, you don't go get a pregnancy test at 2 or 3 in the morning, whatever it was, the middle of the morning. I mean, it's unlikely. Absent all the other, happenstances, maybe you might just, be a night owl and run out and get one. But it seems to me like he got a pregnancy test. He wanted Heather to take it in front of him or around him and confirm whether or not she was pregnant. And unfortunately, I think maybe it confirmed that she was pregnant and that him and Tammy, Sidney and Tammy, had already decided that would be just too much of a mess for them to deal with. And they got rid of her.
Yeah, or maybe the pregnancy test was just a way to lure her to a location.
Well, there's that.
Right? And maybe she never even took a pregnancy test.
So I think at some point, Tammy being in the driver's seat, pushed Sidney to, we're going to get rid of this person once and for all, and they killed her. They did something with her body.
Yeah, that's totally what I think happened.
So I think they deserve to be in jail, and I think the authorities did get creative in the prosecution to get them in jail and keep them in jail without actual murder charge. But I do wish that one or the other would just give up the location of her remains for the family's sake.
Can I also just mention something that just sort of bothers me because it seems really trashy?
What's that? Yeah,
Well,
I like a little trash.
Well, besides the fact that Tammy and Sydney are just totally gross, I found it strange that Ashley Kason, Tammy's sister, testified that the kids were at her home until 3 a.m. and that it was not an uncommon thing for the kids to be up that late, because that just shows me that, like, Tammy's allegedly homeschooling these kids, right? They don't have any kind of routine or schedule. I mean, honestly, what parents are, like, allowing their small children to be up all night without getting a good night's sleep?
It happens sometimes,
It's not normal.
But to be just the way it is, you get to stay up, do what you want, stay up however long you want. It leads you to believe they don't have a routine. They're not actually getting some good homeschool hours in. Some people do a great job at homeschooling. I'm not sure I would be one of those people because my organizational skills suck. And then some people just say they're homeschooling, but the kid's not learning a damn thing.
Well, I would wager, right?
They're the latter.
That Tammy is probably not the best homeschool parent, and she's letting these kids stay up all night. She and Sydney are out running the streets of Myrtle Beach, fucking in the parking lot, or whatever the hell they do at 2 a.m. I mean, that's just bizarre. These kids are just up, out, whatever, and this family is just sort of like, la, la, la. I feel like they're just trashy. I'm just going to say that.
Sydney be like, won't you let me take you down by the pier and make you be with child? I'm going to impregnate you on the pier.
Girl, I'm going to knock you up in front of the Gay Dolphin gift shop.
You damn right.
I'm sorry, it's the Gay Dolphin Gift Cove.
Ooh.
We're going to go play some skee ball at that arcade. I'm going to get you a slice of pizza, and I'm going to knock you up in the parking lot of that Gay Dolphin, girl.
Then we're going to go play some skeet ball. Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Skeet.
Don't be sexing
Like
on the beach, though. You get
sperm.
You'll get sand in your crack.
Yeah, just doesn't sound like a good time.
Sexing on the beach?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't feel like sexing in a swimming pool or a hot tub sounds fun either.
It sounds like an
Infection.
bacteria. Yeah.
It sounds like an infection waiting to happen.
It sounds like a doctor's visit in your future.
Anyway, I will post some photos of Sydney and Tammy. If you're judgmental and petty like me, you can go judge them because she's gross. They're both gross. He's got like this weird toothy grin. I can't quite decide like if his teeth are real or not. Right?
Wow.
He just sort of looks slimy.
Okay.
I don't know.
You know what?
They're both gross.
Fuck those two shitbirds.
They are shitbirds.
I have to make sure and get that in on this.
They kind of are perfect together because they're both really like grody.
They murdered this poor girl. They murdered Heather. That's what I believe happened.
Yeah, they're disgusting.
And they're horrible.
And here's Tammy, this big-faced bitch, like blaming this poor girl when she should be targeting all of that anger and resentment at her dumb husband and his little ponytail.
My God. Damn.
Little ponytail man.
Well, it has all the things to be kind of a captivating story that, and then her remains never being found. People always want to hear the end of the story for the family's sake, usually. So, yeah, I could imagine people are still talking about this case to this day.
Yeah, I really hope that at some point the Elvis family does get some answers. I feel like maybe after a few years in prison, the couple might turn on one another and maybe make a deal or something to tell the truth.
Maybe, but, hopefully from the Elvis family's perspective that some sort of justice has been dispensed in this situation. And at least Sydney and Tammy are in jail for a very long time. Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's absolutely hope so, Dylan. Well, there's been some interesting kind of like true crime news happening in the world.
What's going on?
Well, one, there was that concert in Texas, the Travis Scott.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up. Now, that's not necessarily true crime, right?
Well, it kind of is. I mean, people were injured and killed.
But, it was through criminal activity, Heather? Or just people being dumbasses?
Well, I would say trampling a person to death is a criminal activity.
I've never understood humankind how you can end up in these situations to where you're, celebrating a team winning, or you're at some sporting event or a concert, and get hopped up to the degree where you start trampling and stomping, pressing people against walls, fences. Some of those trampling events at some of the soccer games in Europe is some of the most horrible pictures I've ever. Have you ever seen those pictures
Yes.
where the people are pushed up against the wire fencing and like literally there's, well, I'm not going to describe it in detail because it's just horrible and you might not want to know. But I don't understand human nature that causes people to end up hurt like this.
I would say this would be considered, in my opinion, this is considered some criminal activity.
So break it down for me exactly what happened.
This crowd, it got ugly super fast. They surged forward while Travis Scott was on stage. The crowd became tighter and tighter. At that point, witnesses, folks in the crowd were describing that it was like hard to breathe. Like they were so packed in.
You literally suffocate.
Travis came out. He performed his first song. People were starting to pass out in the crowd. People were screaming for help. No one helped or seemed to be hearing the cries for help. I mean, it was horrifying. People were screaming for their lives. Nobody could get out. You couldn't move a muscle. At least 8 people were killed, dozens injured in this ensuing crush that overwhelmed event staff and medical personnel. The dead ranged in age from 14 to 27.
How many people died?
I mean, 8, dude.
Jesus. What a dumb reason to be dead.
These lifeless people were being trampled in the chaos. People who did survive had to fight their way out of the crowd. The music just raged on. I mean, people were packing on top of each other. Folks were crying. It was a really scary sound. I mean, people were screaming and crying, and like people continued to bum rush the stage. So in my opinion, that's criminal behavior.
It's stupid and dangerous.
I feel like there's going to be some lawsuits that come up after this.
Well, and I'm going to say, I'm sure the performers probably didn't know what was going on, right? And they just kept, doing their job, performing. And sometimes, you get interestingly, I just saw a video of Post Malone stopping his show, cutting the music, just because he's seen one fan having some issues, and he's like, stop, no, get this person some help. So, I don't know. Maybe the crowd sounded too rowdy, man. I don't know why you got to push around like that.
One witness said, quote, "I looked around and just saw people stare and others continue to enjoy themselves as if these people meant nothing. It felt like there was little humanity in that crowd."
Yeah, I don't understand how once the event starts happening, people start getting hurt, really hurt. Everyone around those people doesn't start raising hell to the point where you have a third of the crowd like stop, or there. I did see video of people screaming, chanting, "Stop the show! Stop the show!" And I don't know.
People were saying that bodies were just dropping all around them. Kids were falling out, their eyes rolling back in their heads, obviously dead, and that these concert goers just didn't even care and just kept pushing and partying and.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think it just speaks to our culture that people are cold-hearted and they just don't give a fuck. There is no humanity today, Dylan.
Oh, wow, that's sad. You go to see a concert and then maybe possibly your loved one or your child is dead now, right?
Yes.
Or injured severely.
Another piece of true crime news to come out of South Carolina, since we've already been discussing South Carolina today, is that a Juilliard-trained concert pianist who's performed all over the world is facing a murder charge after being accused of stabbing a vet tech to death in her home last month.
Oh my gosh.
Zachary David Hughes, 29, he lives in Greenville, South Carolina, was arrested in connection with the October murder of Christina Parcell, age 41. She resided in Greer, which is also in Greenville County. So this guy, yeah, he allegedly killed this vet tech.
Damn.
Deputies on October 13th were dispatched to her house. She was found dead inside the home by someone known to her. She'd been brutally stabbed multiple times, and she does have a very young daughter she leaves behind. During their investigation, they found physical evidence that linked Zachary Hughes to this crime, and they believe that he's the person responsible for the death. He turned himself into the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. He was arrested and charged with murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. And they say this killing was definitely targeted. It was more than obvious that he intended to kill her and that he went to her home to kill her. And they still don't really have a motive, and they don't know exactly if the couple was in a relationship of some type or whether they even knew each other. Like, she may have just been a victim that he had chosen at random. They're not 100% sure yet.
That's so scary.
Isn't that so scary?
Yes.
I mean, people describe her as like she was an animal lover and just a really beautiful soul with a really positive spirit. And folks are just shocked that someone would want to hurt someone like her because she was so full of love and care for others.
The things humans do to each other. What is wrong with us?
I don't know. But that'll be an interesting case to follow. I would like to know more details about what happened.
Oh, and I'm sure you will keep your eye on that one and everything else going on. So that was a good story, a sad story, obviously, but a compelling story, to say the least. Tammy and Sydney are pieces of shit. We learned that today. And Heather should not have been, she should still be here, being a vibrant young person.
It's sad, definitely.
Gosh.
Well, Dylan, if folks want to reach out to us, send us an email. How can they get in touch?
Yes, you can hit us up at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
Shazam! You got it right for the first time ever.
I can say the email. I can't say it. Or if you want to get more of me and Heather inside your ears, you can check us out at patreon.com/mountainmurders. Podcast. Jesus.
Patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast, and become a patron of the show, which provides support so we can keep bringing you the cases that you like hearing. And we have our Discord chat, ad-free episodes. I mean, there's a lot of good content over there. Plus, we step outside of true crime sometimes to bring you all sorts of interesting cases, stories, paranormal, urban legends, you name it, we got it.
Man, I gotta say, over there at Patreon, we have quite a few bonus episodes. We've been doing them over the years.
A lot of content.
A lot of extra content. You can't beat the ad-free experience. And sometimes we drop things there early. We drop things there that we're trying out. Sometimes we're unfiltered, unedited, edited. And so yeah, just for as low as a few bucks a month, you can support us directly and access a shit ton of extra content.
Yeah, Dylan, and this week we are testing out. We're actually going to drop a live video on Patreon of our next Patreon episode. We're going to have a video to go along with it, so that'll be fun, right?
You can see my big face.
Yeah. And you can be like, Heather's got a big fat pie face too. And
she has a little fat pie face.
It's true, I do. I have a double chin.
Our heads together is like both ends of the spectrum.
Because I like to snack. Okay. Until Wednesday, we hope you guys have a safe week. We'll be back with a brand new Offbeat, and we'll be dropping a brand new Patreon this week. So definitely an opportunity for you to get a lot of content if you so desire. Tell your friends goodbye, Dylan.
Bye.